Appreciate but welcome, y'all. Happy Friday. Welcome back to another Fundraising Friday. Really excited to cover this topic. This is something that a number of folks have been kind of asking about as they grow their organizations. Like, what tools do people use? How do we choose which tools are the best for us? So that's what we're gonna get into today. So we will be talking about choosing your revenue generation vendors. My name is Kafili Thomas, he, him pronouns. I am the director of program partnerships here at Progressive Multiplier. This is the PM team. I am joined by my incredible colleague, Janet Davidson. Janet, if you'd like to say hi.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks. Yeah, so this is the entire squad, all eight of us, which has grown. If you are a Fundraising Friday veteran, you've seen this slide kind of exponentially blow up over the last 6 months. But yeah, a little bit more about Progressive Multiplier, who we are and what we do. We help organizations build a progressive movement of, by, and for everyday people. And we do this by organizing and leveraging funding to create on-ramps for progressive organizations to start, strengthen, or scale individual giving and earn revenue programs. Through both an online community of practice and our grant making and support program, we help the progressive sector revenue generation knowledge and skills so that it can amplify a people-powered movement. So, in addition to these trainings that we do, the strategic assistance that we offer, we also have a grants program. Our grant program is in three main buckets or focus areas: uh, achieving justice, realizing democracy, and restoring the environment. And we fund revenue generation experiments for organizations that work in these three focus areas. Our goal around that work is to grow the rev gen capacity of groups that spend most of their resources doing work that adds up to government, industries, or courts making decisions that affect widespread change. This work can include anything from running campaigns to organizing to doing litigation, and other forms of civic engagement, including public education and mobilization. And so we believe that this is the most effective path, most efficient path, rather, to building sustained progressive power. I want to give a major shout out to our amazing Friends at Resilience initiative for hosting and partnering with us for Fundraising Friday. If you have not had the chance already, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, your name, your organization, and role. While we do that, I'm actually going to renew myself here so you know who I am, not facilitator all access. There we go. And we will be recording this session, just like we record all Fundraising Friday sessions, on the private YouTube channel. The bit.ly link is down there. Janet, if you get a chance to put that in the chat, I think that'd be great for folks. So you can not only go back to this session once it's uploaded, but all of the previous sessions that we've done over the years. If you have a question on fundraising, chances are we probably have covered it, at least tangentially so far. So feel free to go check that out. And so what is available through this partnership? So we have the Fundraising Fridays, which are monthly trainings on relevant topics. We also have one-on-one fundraising coaching with either myself or some of our other colleagues on the team. So you get up to 5 hours of individual coaching, consulting, or deliverable preparation. Things that we've worked on in the past for this include board fundraising trainings, annual development plans, end of year campaigns, marketing and fundraising and communication calendars, major gift training. So pretty much anything in the fundraising universe. If you have some questions, you want some help or some thought partnership on how you would want to set something up or go about enacting some type of program, feel free to utilize some of that time. There is a sign up link that is in that form, but you can also reach out to either Michelle Mengel or myself if you have any questions or you want to sign up. As we said before, please feel free to revisit the previous Fundraising Friday sessions. Janet just posted the link in the chat, and you can check out any of the trainings that we've done in the past to either brush up on some stuff or get some advice. Great. So we're going to talk about three main topics today. Why we need to invest in tools and technology. What are some of the categories of tools and technology that exist and who are some vendors in those spaces? And how you would go about choosing your vendors. This is also like time for you and space for you to think deeply about the programs that you all use currently, how you like them, if you don't like them at all. It's really helpful to hear in real time like what folks are using to deal with certain challenges or think through the best solutions for things. So would love for this to be really generative and iterative. So please feel free to, if you have a program that you're using that's not on our list or in our radar, like would be great to hear about it, how you like it, and how we can include that to give advice to other folks. Great. So let's start with why you want to invest in tools and tech. So first off, you being able to to invest in tools and technology for your organization is really going to take your work to the next level. Something that was told to me once that has always stuck with me is that you rise to the level of your people, but you fall to the level of your systems. So even if you have incredible staff members who know how to do the work that you want them to do in and out without any assistance or any support, at some point they are eventually going to leave your organization. Um, and if you do not have systems or tools for them to work through information that can be shared, all of their work and all of those skills and all of that knowledge is going to leave with them. And that is whether it is a short-term leave because of vacation, illness, or other health related reasons, or it's long term. You really want to prevent brain drain from happening at your organization because that is one of the largest impediments to organizational growth. So through investing in systems, we can create ways of maintaining a standard level that your organization processes everything that it does, whether it is your programming, but especially on the back end side where a lot of us work. So your fundraising rhythms and systems, your operational rhythms and systems, your financial rhythms and systems, those type of things should be as codified and regular as possible so that folks, whether they're new or seasoned, know exactly what they should be doing, when they should be doing it, and how they should be doing it. And so for your organization to grow, reliance on tools and systems and technology is going to increase because there's going to be less time and space for one person to be able to do all of the work. We're often, as development staffs, supremely under-resourced, and that is both from a system and tools standpoint and from a human capacity standpoint. So the level of staffing that you have um, in your department. So it's really important for you to be able to not only highlight the need for investment in this to be able to do your work, but be able to prevent burnout for yourself and for your team. So it would be great to hear from folks. What are some tools and things that you use internally as a fundraising department to be able to do your job? That can go anywhere from CRMs that you may be using to finance stocks. Okay. NGP. Jerry, I don't think I'm familiar with NGP. Is that an acronym? And I know you're on lunch, so
That's
it's
okay.
making you.
NGP or every action.
Okay, got it, got it, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then just basic old spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets in Excel, got
Yep.
it. And are the spreadsheets in Excel, is that for like more financial documents?
More so for follow-up and just tracking
Okay,
my progress for call
got it.
time, follow-up, that sort of thing.
Okay, cool. Not a problem. That sounds good. And how has like the investment in technology for your team been? Has there been like pushback? Is it easy to think through like, we should invest in this new program because it's going to allow us to do XYZ that we've always.
Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly at the point as an executive director with probably, I'm going to say 12 other colleagues that are in the same position.
Mhm.
Certainly better technology
Mm.
would be helpful.
Got it. So feel free to definitely ask questions. We're going to go over like section by section some of the industry standard stuff that people are using.
Hmm.
We get some recommendations from other folks on the calls about what they're using as well. So hopefully this will be helpful for it to at least point you in the right direction of where you can spend some investment. Great. Leanne says Salesforce and GiveSmart, familiar with both of those. Wilson ActBlue, Notion, Google Sheets, MailChimp. Yep. Dahlia, at this time we have no systems. So I'm the first development person that they've hired. Dahlia, can you say a little bit more about like kind of the situation your development work is in?
Yeah, definitely. So, Progress Now is like a comms organization uplifting progressive politics. And up until this time, they've just really focused on comms and doing, like the executive director was just doing grant writing. And so they finally decided, like, hey, we're starting to get donors or we're starting to get people who want to be involved. Maybe we should hire a development person to kind of start, conversations and community with some of the people who really want to donate to us. So at this time, I'm coming in brand new with an Excel spreadsheet and starting from scratch, just writing down people's names, their emails, and their phone numbers, and slowly starting to build out how often we should reach out to them and what kind of follow-ups we should have. And so it's like very brand new.
Sure. Well, hopefully this will be helpful for you to think through like how you can help build some more robust support for your work in the future. But one thing that I would say, just in general, and you've probably heard if you've been to Fundraising Friday, no matter what the topic, you've heard me talk about the snowball method. The most effective system that you can use to do anything is the system that you're actually going to use. There are so many organizations that spend tens of thousands of dollars on databases, hours and hours pumping that information into those databases and never pull reports out of it. It's just a giant library of information that goes unused, right? So ultimately, what we really want to do is to build these systems to make our jobs easier so we can make more data informed decisions, so we can know what's going on in our work and we can make arguments to do something or to not do something and have that be backed up with fact, right? So now if you're at the point where like a Google Sheet is what works for you, then that's what works for you right now. And that's totally okay as long as it gets the job done. But this is supposed to help you think through when it starts to become a little bit more cumbersome and you're like, we may need to advance beyond this. What are some of the options that you have that are out there? As well as what are some of the thought processes that you should go through with yourself, your executive director, and whoever else would be making those type of decisions on your team about how we should grow your tech suite to be able to support your work as you evolve.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Thank you.
no problem. So as I was saying earlier, brain drain is real. Your employees are going to at some point have some level of churn or turnover. And so we build systems so that we can disseminate and share information and replicate results. If all the know-how lives in just a couple people in the organization, what's going to happen when they leave? You're going to have to start from square one again. And so any time spent without systems is really robbing yourself of investment that you can be putting into the future. So it's incredibly important, even though this is kind of like the back office side of work. Janet is our systems person here at Progressive Multiplier. And so our work has been able to evolve exponentially since Janet has come on board. And it's really like night and day how much we're able to do because we have systems and tracking behind it. And we don't have to spend so much time looking for information that, isn't centralized. Great. And so systems are going to be your guide. So through investing in technology and systems, you're going to be able to provide for your constituency at scale. So being able to pull information as one person or as one team way quicker than you would be able to do manually. You'll be able to make data-driven tweaks to your process. So because you'll have that information, you can make decisions on whether something has been successful, whether something hasn't been successful, where to pivot, things like that. You'll be able to grow at a faster rate organizationally. You'll be able to share more information internally and externally efficiently because you'll be able to gather that and disseminate that a lot easier. And you'll be able to understand the historical precedent to smarter organizational decisions. Um, Oftentimes, especially with fundraising, there is so much stuff that is rooted in context that would not be known unless you were literally in the room when that decision was made or you have that information available to you. I cannot tell you how many times in my career any place that I've worked at where we would have a specific process for 99.9% of our individual donors, except a couple who were like, oh, you don't mail them directly. The ED will send them will give them a call or write them a direct handwritten note, or a foundation that has something very funky with their reporting processes. But if you do not know that, you're just gonna treat it like everybody else. And that can potentially harm a relationship because that nuance is very important. On the donor side, folks do not like repeating themselves, things of that nature, even down to people's chosen names. So someone's legal name may not be their chosen name. So if you're referring or addressing to someone in a mailing and they have requested a name change in the past, that can harm the relationship with the donor if you keep using a name that they don't want to use. So there's a lot of reasons why even just having basic information like that is important. Um, but all in all, we live in a tech-driven world now. We are literally all across the country, and I'm able to give this training to you all from the comfort of my apartment in Dallas, Texas, right? This is a very different time than it was 10, 15 years ago. And so we shouldn't let technology scare us. Like we don't still ride horses. I'm not writing this by candlelight with a feather quill, dipped in ink, right? So the world that we live in is currently shaped by technology and we need to embrace it or potentially get left behind. And this relates to all of our work. Digital fundraising has grown leaps and bounds just in the last 5 to 10 years, whereas when I started being a fundraiser and development person, hard mail campaigns was what I started my job on. That has completely shifted over the course of my career, and things will continue to shift as technology continues to become more advanced. So think about how to use technology to systematize your work, figure out and define what are your actual goals, and think of tech as a tool or a way to get to the solution that you want rather than it being the end all be all and being intimidated by it. Any questions on that before we dive into some of the technology categories? Nope, good to go? Okay. So we're going to start with what is essentially the base or the hub of any good fundraising department, is your CRM or your client relationship management system. These are essentially your databases that store all of your donor information. And in an ideal world, when I say it's the hub, it's for a specific reason. We're now at the age where a lot of tech tools, especially around fundraising, are able to automate and speak to each other. There was once a time where you would have to pull an Excel sheet of all of your giving from your website and then manually enter all of that into your database. But those days are no longer. So one thing that to think about with client relationship management systems is automation. In an ideal world, these pulls should be happening without you even having to touch it. And it should fill up your database and give you the information you need to make choices for yourself. So this section, and we're going to share the slides after this so you have access to this. I'm just giving a kind of overarching view of some of the major players in each of these categories. So Salesforce is the biggest database org in the world. They do nonprofit and for-profit database management, so CRM databases. One thing I would say about Salesforce is it is pretty much a blank canvas. It can be anything that you want it to be, but because of that, it can be a little bit intimidating or unwieldy to use if you do not know exactly how to build it. There are people who make very good money being just Salesforce consultants who will build out a database based off of an organization's needs. So I would say that you can probably find the most support for it, but if you're trying to build something on your own, that might be one of the more difficult ones to use. Leanne says, yes, had to be self-taught. Okay. Since the last development person left and was the one who built up the platform. Leanne, is that with Salesforce?
Sorry, I couldn't find my mouse for a second. Yes, it is with Salesforce. I came into this department about a year ago now, and I'm still figuring out to get them to say what I need them to say.
Yeah, exactly. So again, that's why like not only just building systems, but being able to have like we call them like SOPs on our side at Progressive Multiplier. So standard operating procedure. So like we have this tool, but this is how we use it and why we use it in this way, so that, you know, Leanne, hopefully you will be in the position that if and when you leave your role or when someone joins your team, they won't be starting from the same like base level that you started from. They will have like a guide essentially showing them how to use the platform and what to do with it. So essentially that's the way that it should work. Doesn't always work that way places, but it should. Moving on, HubSpot is what we use here at Progressive Multiplier. It is a little bit more business oriented, I would say. So if you are a organization that does any fee for service, you have client-based work, this may be a good option for you to think through and to look at. Razor's Edge is a industry veteran. It is made by Blackbaud, and so Razor's Edge NXT rolled out a few years ago, which is their web-based version. It used to be like uh, a hard server that you would upload everything to. It is specifically for nonprofits. It is a pretty robust but self-explanatory system. As I said, that's where I got my database start on. So kind of partial to that one, but that's just because I know it the best. Donor Perfect is something that like um, aren't if you aren't very data savvy yet and you're just trying to like kind of get your feet wet, Donor Perfect is a great way to kind of stick your toe into the CRM space. And then Bonterra is they just bought out a bunch of orgs. So we are actually doing a CRM training next week, I want to say. Yeah, next week. And it was spurred through, yep, on the 5th. It was spurred through me giving a training and everyone saying how confusing they found the new Bonterra system to be. So if you have any CRM questions, please feel free to sign up for that training as well, which will go really in depth on kind of the changing landscape with all of that and some choices. Yep, they did take over NGP. And so I think a lot of the grievances was that porting process, Jerry, wasn't very smooth for a lot of groups, and like the customer service was very difficult. To kind
Totally. And NGP was complicated, in my opinion. It's been the bane of my existence for the past decade or so. So,
yeah.
yeah.
A common thread you'll probably realize throughout this training is I'm just going to give you overviews, but I'm not going to tell you any of them are actually good or any of them are bad, right? They're all as I was a foreign exchange kid once, and what they're saying was it's not good, it's not bad, it's just unique. And
Right.
that's what all these tools are,
I
right?
always thought if some young kid came up with an alternative to NGP, they'd be a billionaire. Maybe I should
Oh,
just, yeah.
that is 1000% my sellout plan. I just
Yes, good. Keep me
can't.
posted. Keep me
I will.
posted.
But yeah, in general, all of these tools are just tools. There are pros and cons to all of them. They're going to be like some things that work really well and some things that don't. So it's important to really think through what are your organizational goals and which of these tools can potentially fit what that is. Victoria asks ideas on which CRM can adapt to mass data uploads. My fiscal sponsor can only give monthly exported spreadsheets of donors, messy data collection. This is a great question. So if you are at the stage where you are moving from an Excel sheet or you were fiscally sponsored and all your data lived in some other organization's database and you're porting things over. Nowadays, pretty much all of these groups are able to do mass data uploads. They may do them in separate ways. Some of them will do them for you for free. Some of them will do them for you for a fee. It just depends on the group and their pricing model. The great thing about all of these tech tools is they know that they are in competition with each other. And oftentimes there's only one service provider for each type of thing, right? You're not going to have two CRMs. That makes no sense. And so they are very eager and happy to do tech demos for you, to set up a playground for you to actually dive in for a couple days and see how this would work for you, what kind of things that you normally like reports you normally pull, that type of thing. So my advice when you're like trying to look for one of these is to call them all, tell them all you're looking and make them compete with each other. They have really robust sales teams. Sometimes you can get a little bit of a discount if you play one off each other. Think about it like your cell phone company, right? As soon as T-Mobile has a sale, you go to Verizon and be like, hey, they're gonna give me a free phone over there, so I need something, right? And they normally have a little bit of wiggle room to be able to make that happen for you. So on the other end of that hub that we talked about for the CRM, there are gift processing platforms. So these are some of the pages where you like your web page giving. So where you actually collect donations and what feeds into your CRM. Again, these are going to be automated in many cases across different CRMs. So they should have good ones have the capability of talking to all the major ones. As you get a little bit more nuanced, some of them will have less. And then there are some examples of ones that I didn't have up here that were listed before. Like Wilson talked about ActBlue. Technically, that would be a gift processing page that you could use as well. Um, I will just go over these ones here. To me, the one that I like the most right now is Classy. they offer really robust and really good looking fundraising pages. Uh, I'm not as familiar anymore with what their funding model is and how much they cost. It's on their website. But what I like about them is you can run one-time and recurring giving campaigns. You can run multiple campaigns on there and have separate pages that all feed into your donor database. Everything automatically pushes from the Classy page, and then you can run reports directly from there too, just on giving, and it'll show giving trends, um, and things that at a top level glance are like really important for you to know about how your campaigns are going. They're very good looking donor pages, which sometimes is very hard to find. They can do like if you set a goal, they'll do like what are they called? Like the bars of like completion. So if you want to raise $50,000, like fundraiser type bars, like yeah. So there's a lot of cool stuff that Classy does. So yes, temperature gauges. Thank you, Janet. It's Friday, y'all. My brain is um so yeah, Classy is really dope. Bloomerang is another one that folks use. This is also similar type of thing, a little bit less customization, but still a very solid choice that you can use. PayPal Giving Fund will potentially be more and more important in the future because Facebook and Meta now do all of their organic fundraising pushes through PayPal Giving Fund. So if you host a fundraiser on Facebook or on Instagram organically, the money is going to come in through PayPal Giving Fund, which is a switch. It used to come directly from either Facebook, Instagram, or Meta. So that's just one thing to know. So if you do things like, I know orgs who do those challenges where it's like you're running for a charity. Oftentimes they'll host those on Facebook, and then that money will come in through PayPal Giving Fund. um, Donor Box is a pretty base and standard one that is very low maintenance. Network for Good is probably the easiest one to set up, but I would say looks wise is maybe a little bit more dated. Looks like an older website. And One Cause is also an option that I've seen folks host their sites on. Any questions about those? Any suggestions? Are there other ones that folks are using that aren't on this list that we want to highlight as either good or maybe not so great? Give Butter. I don't think I've heard of Give Butter, Janet. Can you say a little bit more about that?
It's my old org, we looked into it because I can't remember who we were using for our peer-to-peer fundraising, and it wasn't good. I think Give Butter is nice because it's free, but take that with a grain of salt because you get what you pay for, essentially.
100%. That is, and we'll kind of go into like some of the decision making around like why you would choose a specific platform over another in the next segment. But it is really important to think through um what is like what are you willing to pay for and what does that mean um by not willing to pay for other things. So like where's your level and standard of what you want something to look like, what you want it to operate it like. Um oh, Delilah says at my old org we used Classy and it was awesome. Can you talk a little bit more about how you all use Classy?
Yeah, it wasn't like the main person that was on it all the time, but I did a lot of support work and it's just extremely user friendly. It's really intuitive, like it's easy to build fundraising pages. There's so many options for you to like do design. Like I would say like if you're really about like designing the page and like creating a good like engaging experience for the donor when they go on, like Classy is so good. We ran like in-kind campaigns, monthly giving campaigns, like singular issue campaigns. Like it was so easy to use. And like I said, I wasn't even the main person. But I'd get like assignments to do stuff on there. And like I never even got trained on it. Like I just kind of jumped in and it was easy to kind of feel around and look at things. And their team was super duper helpful. So like when I did have questions, I would just like set up appointments to ask and they would do video calls and help me like, share my screen and go through like how exactly to do things with me.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good point. From the user side, I would say it is one of the ones from all these programs standpoint, it's probably the most like pick up and use. It doesn't feel like a database or like a tech tool. It just feels like a creative website, which I really like. So I think on both ends for the donor, they get a really good experience, but also for you and like trying to set it up and have the customization that you may want. That's definitely one of the ones that I recommend. Thank you for that note. Um, Anyone else using a different gift processing page other than the ones that are on here?
Not sure if I missed it in the chat, but Act Blue.
Yes, someone said Act Blue before. That is
Gotcha.
that's very standard, especially for political leaning groups. We'll have like an Act Blue page in addition to what they will do for their main fundraising. Give Smart is another one, Leanne, that's very good. What is your experience with Give Smart, Leanne? Have you used it before?
Not until this job, but we also just extended our, sorry, because GiveSmart used to be mobile cost, which is what we were originally using, and then they merged. We just added the fundraising packaging for our annual fundraiser, mainly because it has features that, and it communicates to our CRM, which is Salesforce, other than going with like Event Group or Eventbrite, etc.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So yeah, I think one of the considerations to think through, like with all of this too, is like the look and feel of being able to use this. And then also like Leanne said, the actual features. So how you fundraise is going to be incredibly important. So for instance, Classy has like a lot of different options to do different types of fundraising that may work for you. But you may do a specific type of thing, like say an event, right? Where you need to manage tickets or tables or things of that nature that either maybe your CRM or your gift processing platform may not be able to handle. So it's going to be important to think through it again. How do you want to fundraise and find the tools that work best for you? These are just some industry standards, but it isn't like a one size fits all type of solution. Um, Finance tools are also incredibly important. As your org grows, you will start to get audited if you have not been audited already. And that is always the least fun time of the year, other than end of year fundraising, I would say, as a development professional. And so it makes sense to have your books together and make sure that you can accurately explain everything that's going on within your organization. QuickBooks is industry standard, both nonprofit and for profit. Pretty name, almost like name brand recognition as far as like accounting software. Springly is nonprofit specific. And I've heard good things about. Same with Arise. Financials Edge is the sister program to Razor's Edge. So it works really well if you stay within the Blackbaud ecosystem. I cannot say how well it works if you have, like, for instance, a different CRM and you wanted to use Financial Edge. Oftentimes, the decision on these programs will probably be your finance department if you have one. But if you don't, one thing to think through is that automation feature. This is going to make both of your lives way easier on both sides of the fence. Are there other programs that y'all would suggest as far as like financial tracking programs that your teams are using? No? Okay. Cool. Let's talk about social media and content. So there are a couple different types of tools here. The first two are going to be more focused on social media. The last two are actually going to be more project management for you to be able to track your content calendars through. So Canva, I know a lot of people are familiar with Canva. It's probably the easiest way to pretend that you are a graphic designer when you're not. They have really great templates, things you can use to really spruce up and professionalize your content, whether it is anything from a one-pager or a slide deck all the way to social media posts. And then they do the size formatting, which is really nice for you for the different types of posts. So you can like take one piece of content, make it for Facebook, make it for Instagram, make it for Twitter, whatever you want to use it for. So really highly recommend. It can go even beyond just your social media usage. Just makes your stuff look really A1 and professional. They have a lot of great free templates, but there are like even better like paid options on the site. Hootsuite um is a social media management tool that I've seen a lot of groups use that will auto push out posts. So in an ideal world, you will know how your donor base reacts to things. There may be certain days or times that like maybe your specific donor base is going to react to posts, to emails, whatever the case may be. And then there are just like general times that people feel are best to post. So like actually, normally for social media in about 2.5 hours is one of the best times of week to post because it's Friday afternoon and nobody wants to be at work. So what are they doing? Scrolling, right? So it is a great time for you to get that fresh post up because people will be going through their IG feed pretending that they are working till 5:30. Um, that's neither here nor there. I will not snitch on you. And if my boss is listening to this, I will definitely be working at 2:30 later on this afternoon. Um, but yeah, that's those types of things are like kind of the little nuances that you'll learn about your donor base or about engagement in general. Um, so what Hootsuite does is you can create the post on multiple platforms, and it will auto push out at those times. So rather than you having to be on Friday at 2:30, maybe you have a meeting, maybe you're at lunch, right? You can set that up a week or two in advance for it to be sent today at 2:30 and takes all of the guesswork out of doing that, which is really nice to be able to manage a social media calendar. So what you would use that in tandem with are tools like Notion and Monday. Those are project management tools. You can use them to like fully manage out kind of a entire team thing. There are other tools that I would recommend for that, like Asana is what we're using right now, which has been working really good and is pretty robust. But Notion and Monday are great ways of like if you have a specific campaign, like say your Giving Tuesday post, so your end of year post where you need like specific information from team members, you can at them and poke them and it'll go directly to their email. Um, and they can be alerted of things that you need, and you can do all your work directly in there, link files and all of that stuff. And so you'll have everything in one place, and then just use that information from there, plug it into Hootsuite and prep before you send things out. Delilah, we use both Canvas and Monday. Never used Monday before, but super glad I got introduced to it. Best for managing collaboration with other teammates. Yeah, Monday is great. Again, there's tons of different tools you can use. Just find the one that works really well for you and your team. I think one thing about Monday that I've really liked is it is probably kind of similar to what we were talking about with Classy, from a user standpoint of just like clicking and figuring out how this thing works is really low threshold as far as usability. So if you have some folks on your team that are not too tech savvy or get really intimidated by that type of stuff, Monday is a great way to like start building that rigor into your teams without it feeling too cumbersome or folks being scared off by a big wieldy spreadsheet or database for project management. Oh, Victoria, this is a great note. Meta Business Suite can do Instagram and Facebook planning and is free. If you got rid of Twitter like we did, Meta can save you money over Hootsuite. That is a very good note, and I will include that next time I do this training. Thank you, Victoria. Leanne, yep, Airtable is a great tool that I've seen a lot of groups use as well, to kind of project manage things out. Great. These are the kind of the main two email platforms that I've come across that people like continue to gravitate towards. MailChimp and Constant Contact are pretty much industry standard. Same type of idea as Hootsuite. If you want to send out an email, you might have segmented lists. So you might want to send emails to specific types of people. You might want to do your newsletter. You can pre-plan and pre-prep those emails for them to go into the into MailChimp or Constant Contact. They're set up, they're good to go, and they will launch and be sent out you know, at the time that you set ahead of time. What's also really nice about that is if you use a service like this to run straight from your website, like say someone gives you a gift and you have a prompt like sign up for our newsletter or sign up for our mailing list. If they ever unsubscribe and you import a new list, right? So say a major donor doesn't want communication, right? And you update your major donor list and re-upload it into MailChimp or Constant Contact, it will still not send it to that person because they hit unsubscribe as long as the email stays the same. So it's a great way of just having those double checks in, and making sure that you don't agitate or upset any folks who have said that they don't want communication from you. Are there any other email segmentation tools that folks are using that they really like, or are these two still kind of the champs when it comes to this? Campaign Monitor. I don't think I've heard of that. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that?
It's basically the same, it has the building blocks of dragging into an email, the subscriber list, etc. You pay for the amount of subscribers you want to have. Like I think we pay for up to 5,000 subscribers.
Mhm.
Honestly, these all of them kind of seem very archaic because it's not a very sophisticated looking newsletter, but it does the job.
For sure. So a couple points based off of what Leanne said. Payments model for a lot of these tools are based on size. So whether it's your CRM, like the size of your database, so the amount of like files you want to have. With email, it can be like the size of your email list or the amount of segmented lists that you want to have. So that's something to think about, like how many different donor groups do you want to talk to that are individualized? And yeah, they can look very 2008-ish with their normal stuff. But one thing you can do is, again, you can use Canva and other tools to really spruce up the content inside the email and push it through MailChimp or Constant Contact. Takes a little bit more work, but for big things like newsletters, maybe your annual report, things that like you really want eyes on, they're great ways of making sure it kind of keeps up with the time rather than building it natively in those apps. Great. So now let's talk about how do we choose these different vendors. So the first thing we need to do is identify like what is our actual need right now. So take an audit of your current tech use as an organization, as a team, as an individual. What information do you use on a regular basis? And who do you currently share that information with? How do you share that information? Why do you share that information? And are there any gaps there? Um, is it fully successful? Does everybody who needs to know the information that you're sharing know it? How often is that updated? Things like that. So get a real sense of both internally and externally how you're connecting with folks and how your job is viewed and seen by people outside of your team. And are you able to currently communicate that effectively? You also want to think about mapping this to your current capabilities, right? So if you're growing internally, as we said before, say you are in the position where, it's just you as a fundraising team. And then next year you raise enough money and you want to hire somebody else, or you want to hire two people, or you have a consultant, or your comms and dev teams are merging. Whatever the case may be, you will need new tools to be able to disseminate information, because now you have to share information. It doesn't just live in your head. You have to translate it to other people to help them make decisions on their own as well. So anytime your organization is growing, you'll need to scale internally to be able to support that level of work. Because again, we're only going to fall to the levels of our system. Our system is our new baseline. And then seek advice on industry standards. So make sure that you're keeping up with the newest technology that is coming out. There are a lot of new tech ideas that have come around in the past couple of years. Some of them have caught on and seem to be here to stay, such as the growth of AI. We'll actually be doing a training on that in a couple months, and how that's going to relate to fundraising work, the good, the bad, and the absolutely terrifying. And there are things like the metaverse, which had like a very hot 3.5 weeks after billions of dollars were spent on developing those things, right? So there's always going to be some new hot thing that like people are like, oh my God, this is it. But it's important to see like how the work is actually evolving and what people are actually using. So, attempt to solicit advice from us here at Progressive Multiplier, any other training resources you have. If you go to conferences, that's a great place. Or just ask like peer organizations who you are in concert with. Like, hey, we're looking for a new CRM. Who are y'all using? Do you like it? Things like that. Thinking through also how do we connect with donors on their terms, not ours. So if we're trying to meet donors where they are, we need to set up our tech and our tools to be able to do that and to reach that. We are going through a generational transition right now, and the way that we fundraise is completely different. Just as we talked about earlier, We went from hard mail to email campaigns. Now we're going from email to fully digital social media campaigns or crowdfunding campaigns or even text-based campaigns, QR codes, things of that nature, right? These are all rapid shifts that have happened in the last 5 to 10 years and will continue to happen as we see this generational shift happening. So our tech tools need to be able to allow us to connect with newer and younger donors as we evolve our work. So again, ensure that we're accessible. There are totally different ways of giving, text to give, cryptocurrency, donations, things like phone-based internet use. So like even your web pages have to be formatted to phone usage now. And how it looks on a phone will affect your bottom line as an organization. Social media usage. So we need to make sure that your org can capitalize on all of these things. And then backing up our decision making. Any investment in our tools, as we said before, is only going to be as successful as our ability to use them. You do not want to have a database that no one ever pulls a report out of. That is a waste of money and time and effort. So we want to set up standard operating procedures to explain not only the what, but the how of what we want to do. Cost. So we need to think about how much is this going to run us? Is this feasible within our budget? And is the potential increase to our return on investment high enough that you can justify this purchase to whoever you need to? These tech programs are going to come in at a variety of different prices, from like your free to use options to your very expensive options, such as like your CRM. The things that are really important for you to understand are how you're going to be able to justify that cost to whoever you need to, and what level of use you're going to get out of that program and how it's going to change how your work looks. We've touched on this before, but ease of use is going to be huge, right? So programs need to be chosen by your ability and desire to actually use them, not by what is quote unquote industry standard or what folks feel like is the right level of investment just because that's what everybody else is using. So invest in programs that can be taken up easily by team members and folks can be onboarded into easily. And then we want to think through adaptability to our needs. So choose programs that can grow with your needs as you seek to get more advanced in your fundraising goals. So you might have different fundraising channels that you want to open up in a year or two. If you're going to make the investment into a gift processing platform, get something that's going to be able to do that too, rather than getting something in the short term and then having to pivot again in 2 to 3 years. And also thinking about scalability. As we talked about, the tools often have pricing that's reflective of the size of your base or the amount of times you want to use it. So make sure that you can afford it both in the short and the long term, and that your investment is future proof. Right. And that is pretty much all of the slides that I have. We knew that this is going to be a one where folks are using different things and may have specific questions. So really wanted to leave some time for folks to ask about, programs that they're using, if they have anything that they really recommend, or some things that they might want some advice on. Any questions about your work? Delilah, I hope that this was helpful for you to help try and think through how you build out your programming to help support your work.
It totally has been, even just to like, I think the part that was the most helpful is you giving examples of specific ones per each topic. That's just nice for me to get to take to my supervisor and say like, hey, when we actually start going about buying these things, let's even just look into these options to start with. So that was
For
really helpful.
For sure. Great. And then don't forget, like they will do demos for you as well. So you'll be able to
Right.
make really informed choices on how you want to be able to present those options.
Totally. Thank you.
No problem. Um, any other questions, y'all?
And I'm going to do a shameless plug. I know that there is another resiliency initiative training next Wednesday at about the same time, but we will be hosting a panel discussion on Wednesday, June 5th. Also doing a deeper dive into CRMs, specifically with some professionals who are very familiar with everything that's going on. Apparently, there's a lot of stuff that I was not aware of that's really affecting the way that the technology is rolled out and how we interact with it. Even if you're not able to attend that training, I would highly recommend that you register for it so that we can be sure to send you the recording afterwards there, because it'll be a panel discussion. There's not necessarily going to be a deck, but like I said, we will be sending out thank you emails with the recording to share with everybody who is registered. So I'll include that in the thank you email to today's webinar.
Yep. And right after that training, I will be hosting a training, the other resilience initiative training that is on the election. So it's part 2 of bracing for impact. So we will have a panel of groups talking about lessons learned from the 2020 and 2022 elections and how that's informing their fundraising decisions for this upcoming one in November. So please join us for one of those two on next Wednesday. And if not, I won't be here because I will be on vacation, but somebody will be here training on the new foundation landscape. So a lot of organizations are really struggling to figure out how do we connect with foundations now. There's so many that are going through strategic redesigns and I don't know what that means, or that have closed application processes. So how am I supposed to apply for an organization that's not accepting applications? We will be going over all of that. So it should be really insightful and helpful. So tune in to my colleague who will do an incredible job, I'm sure. And if not, enjoy your June, and I will see you all either on the 5th or in July.
Thank you.
Right on.
Thank
Thanks
you.
all. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks, Janet.